of LCJ Live. The box office, the reviews, the news, the analysis, the views, all of it here on LCJ Live today on this edition. It is Sunday, April 21st, 2024. Thanks for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube Live, thank you. You can send in a question or a comment. I've got some pals here with me. Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, because tomorrow on Paramount, tomorrow at lcj.podbean.com, the LCJ Q&A podcast, and at animationscoop.com, I've got a new Q&A with Jeff Fowler, the director of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trilogy and the executive producer and director of the first episode of the new spin-off series Knuckles, which premieres this Friday, April 26th on Paramount Plus. So that great conversation with Jeff, there's a sneak peek clip that's available now on the YouTube channel. It's available on Twitter X and Instagram at LatesCamJackson, Twitter X at LCJ Reviews, Facebook, YouTube, all of it, and at lights-camera-jackson.com. Jeff Fowler and I talk about Idris Elba. We talk about these 6 episodes of Knuckles. And we talk about bringing Jim Carrey out of retirement for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which opens this December. We talk about all of that and more. Great conversation with Jeff Fowler tomorrow. You can get that at animationscoop.com and lcj.podbean.com, as well as wherever you get your podcasts for the LCJ Q&A. Don't forget to subscribe there, subscribe here on YouTube, and get those notifications. I go live every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern with LCJ Live. And today, we're now going to get into the box office, which has a returning champion in Civil War. Civil War wins again. A24 wins again. 11.1 million. I posted a Twitter X poll earlier this week. What movie was going to win the box office this coming weekend? And majority of the votes went to Civil War, and they were correct. Civil War wins with 11.1 million. It's at 44.9. Now, that's a drop of more than 50%. It's something like 56%. And it's at 44.9. My original prediction for Civil War was a $20 million open and a $55 million total. At this point, I think that total is closer to 60, but probably won't get to the 77 million and change of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the highest grossing movie ever from A24, but still the biggest open ever for A24 last weekend. First time they've had movie number 1 for 2 weekends, and Civil War is still America's number 1 movie, even with several new challengers. This coming week, we've also got a new movie called Challengers. But look at Abigail, Universal, with another horror movie. There are so many horror movies in theaters right now, more on the way. There are too many horror movies out right now, and I think audiences are starting to feel it. They can't go to these movies every single weekend. It's a lot. Abigail, just 10.2 million this weekend, which is the exact same open of Monkey Man 2 weeks ago for Universal, the Dev Patel movie. Here's Abigail from the directors of the last couple Scream movies, and Catherine Newton's in it, Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens. But I think that trailer gave away a lot. I have not yet seen Abigail, but I think that trailer gave away way too much, and I think people realized, do we really want to go to another horror movie right now? So Abigail, not so hot. Also, shout out to some of the other box office people posting this morning. Universal, with a string of vampire movies that have not done very well. You've got Abigail. Last year they had Renfield and The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which were both flops. So Universal went all in on the vampire thing and not really paying off. In third place this weekend, you thought it was going to be the Guy Ritchie movie. Turns out Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, in third place with another 9.5 million. It's at 171.6. It is going to soon pass 2017's Kong Skull Island, and we'll see if it can get to that 200 million from the Gareth Edwards Godzilla from 2014. I don't think it will, but it could be close. Godzilla x Kong did better than Guy Ritchie's latest movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a film I have also not seen yet. Watched a lot of TV, got ahead on some TV and caught up on some TV this week, along with Sasquatch Sunset, which I screened last night. I will tell you about that in a little bit. Ungentlemanly Warfare only made $9 million this weekend, which is not very good. That includes the money it made from last Saturday night with Lionsgate doing nationwide pay-per-view screenings. So, Ungentlemanly Warfare, though, had the highest per-screen average of the new movies in the top 5 and maybe the top 10 this whole weekend. It had a better per-theater average than Abigail and Civil War and Godzilla x Kong and the movie that came in 5th this weekend, Spy x Family Code White. So, Lionsgate could take this and say, okay, we were in fewer theaters than some of these other movies. We made more money per theater, but still ended up in 4th place this weekend. I don't know if that necessarily means that more theaters this weekend are going to pick up on Gentlemanly Warfare. Sometimes you see a movie have a better per theater average than others, and theaters that didn't have it yet go, all right, we got to get this movie. I don't think audiences were excited for yet another Guy Ritchie action movie that looks like the last 4 or 5 he's made in a row. So it did not do very well. Spy X Family Code White, which I think is a very entertaining film. It is anime, it is fun, it is exciting, good action sequences, great dialogue, humor, characters. Only 4.9 million this weekend. Suzume, which I love from last year, did about 5 million with its open as well. Not every anime movie is a success. I don't know if you're going to call 4.9 million a success in 5th place. Probably not, but it's a very fun movie. And if you're a fan of the TV series, you've watched it, you got to go see this. The characters are fun. It's an energetic movie, and I really enjoyed it. But 4.9 million, not a lot for Spy X Family Code White. In 6th this weekend, animation keeps rolling though. Kung Fu Panda 4 added 4.6 million. It is at 180 million bucks, just 5.5 million away from matching Puss in Boots: The Last Wish for DreamWorks. And at this point, I think Panda's going to pass Puss in Boots. Because what did I tell you weeks ago? This is the only major animated movie. Yes, Spy X Family. But Kung Fu Panda 4 is the only major animated movie until the Garfield movie comes out May 24th. Yes, you've got If on May 17th, which has some animation. But there are going to be families who keep going to Panda. Panda could make another 4 million next weekend, another 3 million the weekend after that, another 2.5 the weekend after that. It could inch its way close to $200 million domestically. We're going to get another Kung Fu Panda. I really think so. And DreamWorks is doing really well with it. Universal has been putting out these animated movies, whether it's DreamWorks or Illumination, that have owned the theatrical space for quite some time. You had Migration, you had Puss in Boots, you had Sing 2, you have this now, and of course Minions: The Rise of Gru. This summer we're getting Despicable Me 4, we're also getting Inside Out 2, and the Garfield movie, all 3 of which I think will be absolute blockbusters. In 7th this weekend, a film some families are going to because, again, they need the content. It's Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, added 4.4 million. This finally hit the 100 million mark. It's at 102.9 for Sony Columbia. Maybe it gets close to 110, but it's not going to get to that 130. That was the goal, to pass the other 2 Ghostbusters movies, which had 128 and 129. This will not get to 130. At least Sony can say, we crossed 100 million and maybe get close to 110. In 8th this weekend, Dune Part 2, 2.9 million. It's at 276.6. I think it's about to hit 700 million globally, which is a good number for Warner Brothers. Of course, the 3rd installment, Dune Messiah, is very likely going to happen. And 276.6 is a good number. It's the biggest movie of the year. And yeah, it's not going to reach Oppenheimer. We've been comparing the two, which Oppenheimer did 330. But 276.6 is very impressive. It'll get to 280. Not sure about 290 or any higher unless it has some re-releases. I'll talk about a re-release that did okay this weekend in just a minute. In 9th, Monkey Man added 2.2 million. It's at 21.7 for Universal. Not a success. Neither really is The First Omen, which rounds out your top 10 this weekend. Added 1.7 million, and it is at 17.8. Not very good for 20th Century. 20th Century put out 3 movies last year, including The Boogeyman, which I liked. Also, Haunting in Venice. And I knew I was going to forget the 3rd movie. What was the 3rd movie that 20th Century put out last year? The Creator, which all did $40 to $44 million. The 3 movies that like that. Also, you had the previous year, 2022, for 20th Century. You had Barbarian and Death on the Nile, which also did between $40 and $46 million. So you have these 5 movies from 20th Century in the last couple of years in that range, along with your blockbuster in Avatar: The Way of Water, and then a few movies that did less. But First Omen, significantly below that 40-something million range of what 20th Century's been giving us lately, and not good. Again, a product of there being too many horror movies out right now. Yeah, The First Omen's making a little more money than Immaculate, but I think people were more excited for Immaculate because of Sydney Sweeney being in it. So yeah, not Horror's hit and miss right now. You got Late Night with the Devil, that's an indie success at $9.5 million. And then you've got other bigger horror movies that are not doing so well. Tarot and The Strangers Chapter 1 open in May, and I'm not sure either is going to do well. Sasquatch Sunset. Oh gosh, I watched this last night. It expanded nationwide this weekend, adding $453,000. It's at $566 total. It's a terrible film. I realized it about 10 minutes in. It's a series of bad comedy bits with no real purpose other than shock value. I think the movie was designed specifically to say, okay, we gotta make a cult classic. Let's make a cult classic. Ugh. When you go in with that mentality, the end result is not usually pretty, and that's the case with this. It's not funny. There's no substance to it. It drags on, even though it's only an hour and 28 minutes. It has that structure of the 4 seasons. So it starts with spring, then you're like, okay, are we getting to summer? And then we get to summer. And okay, can we hurry this up and get to fall and then winter? It's unique in the subject matter, and these filmmakers are fully committed to this concept through the end. But it's like this weird combination of Saturday Night Live with random Looney Tunes zaniness, with the Geico cavemen, even though these Sasquatch characters don't speak English, with Planet of the Apes, with 2 or 3 other things, and with the R-rated raunchy comedy genre, and you're just like, wow, this is a mess. It is a mess. I've seen a lot of bad movies this year. This is a bad movie. Sasquatch Sunset. I think, it goes to the lowest common denominator in terms of what your humor level is. If you think that sexual humor and gross out humor is your cup of tea, then they want you to like this movie. I don't care for this film, Sasquatch Sunset, and audiences really didn't want to respond to it either, even with Jesse Eisenberg in it and Riley Keough. Just $453,000 in a nationwide expansion. It may not hit $1 million for Bleecker Street. A film that got a re-release this weekend, Bob Marley, One Love, added $145,000. It's at $96.8, so it's not going to get to $100 million. But with those 420 showings yesterday, it did $82,000 compared to $30,000 on Friday and $33,000 today. It did $82,000 yesterday with the 420 showings, many of which were at 4:20 in the afternoon around the country. Challengers, as I mentioned, opens this week. It's Zendaya's new film, Tennis, the relationship drama, which was supposed to open last September, but the strikes pushed it now to the end of April. It's got to be the #1 movie next weekend. It's got to be. Civil War's going to drop to about 7 million, maybe 6, maybe lower. Abigail's going to drop to maybe 4 million. Ungenuinely Warfare, I could see hold a little better, maybe drops to 5. Challengers has to do better. Likely will hit double digits and be the #1 movie. You've got a little bit of competition, though, in a couple films, one of which I have seen, Unsung Hero, which is a music drama, family drama based on a true story. I am not allowed to share my opinions on Unsung Hero until Thursday. So I cannot share thoughts on Unsung Hero just yet. I was trying to pull up what some other outlets are estimating, but it's got to be Challengers to win. Unsung Hero will make a little bit of money. There's the faith-based aspect to it, but Lionsgate just put out Ordinary Angels a couple months ago, and that only made $19 million total, which is not great. So maybe 5 or 6 million for Unsung Hero. Your wild card is Boy Kills World, which is also Lionsgate, right? So Lionsgate has 2 movies? I'm just realizing that now. I think both of them are Lionsgate, unless I'm mistaken on that. I think so, but I have to double check that. Yes, so Lionsgate's got 2 movies out this weekend, and I think both of them are going to lose to Challengers. Boy Kills World is an action movie that premiered at some film festivals last year. They made some changes to it, I guess. I haven't seen Boy Kills World yet, and I'm going to be seeing Challengers this week for sure. Hey, I've been playing tennis for 17 years. I got to see the tennis movie. When a new tennis movie comes out, it's King Richard, it's Battle of the Sexes. I got to see the new tennis movie. So I will be seeing Challengers. Boy Kills World may make only a couple $1 million. We will see. It's sort of the wild card because it's the ultra violence, but we just had that with Ungentlemanly Warfare, so maybe this doesn't make a lot of money. Your streaming releases include Tiger, which is not about Tiger Woods. It is the Disney nature documentary on tigers, narrated by Priyanka Chopra Jonas. That debuts tomorrow for Earth Day. And then on Wednesday, on Netflix, is the new Dan Rather documentary called Rather, which I screened last June through the Tribeca Film Festival's at-home program. I like Rather. If you are interested in television news, the history of television news, Dan Rather as a person, you're going to want to watch this. I like the second half a lot. It's pretty strong. First half so-so, but it gets much more interesting in the second half. Rather debuts Wednesday on Netflix. All right. What's your favorite tennis movie, says Scott Stallion? That's a good question. I mentioned the couple just now. I mean, look, King Richard was a very good film. Battle of the Sexes I liked but wanted to love. The thing about that I think puts King Richard ahead of Battle of the Sexes is the tennis scenes. Much more immersive than Battle of the Sexes. The shots in that were too wide as far as wanting to be immersed in the world of tennis. I have not seen Match Point. What else have I seen tennis movie-wise? Man, I'm looking at a lot of these. Of course, you have that famous scene in B-Movie with tennis. Remember that? And I saw the McEnroe documentary, which was okay, but not great. That was also through Tribeca a couple years ago. So as a tennis movie, I like King Richard more than Battle of the Sexes. Though I will say this about Battle of the Sexes. There's a scene in that, and I remember attending a preview screening of the movie, and I was one of like 4 people in the room. There was a scene in Battle of the Sexes that was really good, but it was only one scene. And it's the scene with Emma Stone and Andrea Riseborough. I think it's the first time they meet in the hair salon, and they're looking in the mirror, and they're having a conversation with each other as they look in the mirror. That's the best scene of Battle of the Sexes. It isn't even on the tennis court or really about tennis. It was about the connection of these two characters. That was the best scene in Battle of the Sexes. Now, I have seen something else that debuts this Friday. Thank you, good night. The Bon Jovi story. Remember that there's a moment in one of the episodes of this. It's a 4-part documentary about Bon Jovi that's on Hulu on Friday. And there's a moment in one of them where they show one of the commercials. I remember, get your tickets now. Bon Jovi. And the announcer was like, Bon Jovi, get your tickets now. And they show that in the show. I have watched all 4 parts. It is a chronicle of the career of John Bon Jovi, the career and the lifespan of this band through all the tours, the albums, the hits, the misses, the starting out, becoming friends with Bruce Springsteen. There's a lot going on in this. I am not allowed to really share opinion until tomorrow, but I have watched all 4 parts, and if you're a Bon Jovi fan, put it on your calendar for Friday. Now, it's 5 hours long. It's 4 parts. The first part is an hour. Second part's an hour and a half. And then about an hour and 15 each for parts 3 and 4. I binged them over 2 nights. I did 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4. There's a lot there. And I'm excited to share more with you on it. There's a lot about the history of the band and what John Bon Jovi has been going through with his health in the last couple of years. So more of my thoughts on that tomorrow. Look for that on social media and more throughout the week. How about the new Bon Jovi documentary, 4 parts on Hulu, debuting this Friday? One last thing I want to mention here before we go. I was watching Sunday Today with Willie Geist this morning. He had Hannah Waddingham on. And an interesting thing Hannah Waddingham said about Ted Lasso was that she remembers having a conversation with Brett Goldstein as they were wrapping up, coming close to the end of filming season 1, which I think season 1 is one of the best seasons ever in the history of television. Seasons 2 and 3, but season 1, yes. But she remembers having a conversation with Brett, and Brett said to her, quote, I don't think this show knows what it is. What an interesting thing to say. And then they discovered after watching it, after the edit and all that, wow, what a season. There we go. I think we're back here. There's my pal Knuckles. Had to reconnect after a moment, I believe. just wrapping up, in case you missed that Ted Lasso quote where Brett Goldstein said, "I don't think this show knows what it is." That's interesting. He thought that about season 1. I would more apply that to seasons 2 and 3, which were so all over the place, and season 3 fell into a lot of the traps of season 2, even though it tried to recover itself. That was the thinking of season 1 of Ted Lasso before they saw how good the first season was. Thank you for watching today's episode of LCJ Live. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter X at LCJ Reviews. Don't forget tomorrow my thoughts on Bon Jovi documentary, as well as the new LCJ Q&A with Jeff Fowler, talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Instagram at LightsCamJackson, and the website is lights-camera-jackson.com. Next week, when we're back here Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern for LCJ Live, we will talk about Challengers, how it does at the box office. We will also preview some of the summer movies, and my buddy Jason Black and I recorded an episode of the LCJ Q&A podcast where we preview summer 2024 movies, so we'll preview that. There's a preview clip of that up on YouTube as well. He talks about Twisters and Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Scott Stallion says, 20th anniversary of Harold and Kumar, special White Castle Crave case. Get a copy of the digital movie for buying one. Oh, the 20th anniversary of Harold and Kumar. That's right. Yeah, 2004. That's right. That is on the way. And then those 2 sequels, Guantanamo Bay from 2008 and the 3D movie from 2011. Thank you for being here for LCJ Live. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a good week. Enjoy the entertainment scene for the week. Lots of new shows and movies. And we're almost to the summer movie season. I think it's going to be big. You got big movies pretty much every single week, and I can't wait to see all of them. Thanks for being here for LCJ Live. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.